Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the Getting to Know eSports interview series. I'm Sam Carlson of SpawnRoom.com, and I'm here with Sean, Ero-Sennin, and Gough, a StarCraft 2 player from Minneapolis, Minnesota, currently on the Complexity Gaming Academy. Sean, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, perfect. Before we begin, I just want to quickly explain what this new series is all about. Basically, I want to interview a variety of different people that are involved in esports and ask them more, I guess you could say, intimate questions, generalized questions where you can kind of get to know the person rather than current events and things like that. So so that's the point of the show. Be sure to also check out the Twitters. You can see Sean's there and mine's below and at Spawn Room for a variety of esports content. So we can begin right away with the first question. Sean, tell us about your gaming history. When did you first start playing video games? What was your first system? Was it PC or console? Just kind of general gaming, non-esports.
Sure. Well, my first console, I played console, and it was a Sega Genesis. So I played games like Sonic the Hedgehog, Madden '94, just games like that. And eventually I got into the N64, which is like really when I started playing video games a lot more.
Hmm.
And from there, it's Mario 64, GoldenEye, Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers. Um, and also around that time, I started playing a little bit on computer, like Doom and Diablo,
Okay,
but
cool.
uh, but not too much.
Okay. Did you have like during this time before esports, was there any games that you just like absolutely loved, you invested a lot of time in?
Uh, yeah, I'd probably say um, I was really fascinated with a lot of the sports and stuff, so I could like sit down and play Madden for hours on end.
Oh, okay, cool. Um, okay, so that what years would this be like? I suppose this is earlier on. Um, you eventually
It,
got into PC, right?
yeah, yeah. I eventually got into PC around like the later part of the '90s, but
Okay.
before that, it was mostly console.
Okay. And then when did you start? So you started switching into PC more in the 90s, or was it a mix of console and PC?
Well, it was a mix, but I think I was uh, around seventh grade, so yeah, late '90s. I went on a summer trip with my dad, and we wound up staying with his in his friend's house, and he was playing this game called Diablo, and I had never seen it before, and I loved it, and so when we got back, I had to buy it, and then started playing that for a while, and then eventually, I don't know how I found StarCraft, but eventually I found StarCraft, and from there on, that's all I played.
Okay, cool. Did you do much like LAN partying or anything? Did you have like friends that you did it, or did you start competing right away?
Um, no, I was on a team, so I mean that's like I never found any people in Minnesota that enjoyed StarCraft like I did. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a couple people at during junior high at the time, but they couldn't even figure out what channel to join. Like I told them like, hey, join channel like ABC, and they couldn't figure out how to do that. So so there's no LAN parties or anything, but
Okay.
I'd play in clans and stuff.
Okay. So that was the start of your interest in esports was StarCraft. Was that like right away, or did you just kind of play it for fun and then you kind of figured out? I mean, you were on a team, you said.
Right, yeah. Well, I I just played it for fun. Like, I got Brood War around August of 2001. So by then, I knew that there was this thing called esports and that Koreans were really good.
Mm.
But it wasn't like my main focus. I wasn't thinking, hey, I want to be a pro gamer someday. I was just thinking, hey, I want to kick, my clanmates' butts.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. So then, when did you decide to like become a competitive gamer? Like, when was this like the tipping point? I guess.
Sure. Well, it was never like a conscious effort. like eventually, like I played on um, the ladder at the time was the WG Tour, and you'd have to log on to the Europe server in Brood War to play on it. And I would just play for competition's sake, and eventually I'd start beating people who uh, won, like WCG Puerto Rico, Doomer, who was also in one of my teams. I
Mhm.
beat him a bunch of times. I started beating people who were on the national teams from the United States and elsewhere, and eventually even a Korean pro gamer. So it wasn't like, it was just a natural progression of like, I want to beat this guy, and then I beat him, and then I train and train and train, and I want to beat this guy, and just went from there.
Okay, cool. Um, okay, so then since then, since that has been going on, like what tournaments have you been in? Has it been mostly online, or have you actually gone to compete some places?
Well, Brood War wise, it was all online, but StarCraft 2 wise, um, it started off online, but then I went to my first offline event was one put forth from the University of Minnesota, where I placed third in, and I've been to a couple more offline events. I've been to a couple MLGs, but for the majority of my experience, it's been online.
Okay, I think that was the tournament I met you at, right? The one by
Uh,
Tapone Gaming.
yeah.
Okay, all right, cool. Um, okay, do you have any tournaments that are coming up right now that you'd like to let people know about?
Um, none off the top of my head. I mean, this year especially, it seems that everyone's going to be scaling back the amount of tournaments they're going to host. Just because I think last year it was just so overpopulated with tournaments
Yeah.
that this year they're kind of scaling back a little bit, which I think is a good idea. But right now, I don't have anything on the immediate horizon, but I'm always on the lookout for something.
Okay. And to the tournaments that you have attended, how does that go for you? Is it really stressful, like having fans there, or just people watching you? Is that like really? Does that affect your performance a lot, or?
Um, not really. Like I also play amateur baseball, and we don't get huge crowds, but I'm used to performing in front of a bunch of people. So it's not more than I'm used to.
Mhm.
And honestly, like it might be in the back of your mind, but as soon as the game starts, like I just block everything out.
Okay, cool. What is your from the events you've attended? Like, what's your like like the best part about them and like the worst part about attending events?
Sure. I'd say the excuse me, the best part of attending events is meeting with the people that you see online. So like I went to MLG Dallas when I was staying at the Complexity House,
Hmm.
and I met Suppy, who I knew a little bit from Brood War, but I've never really interacted with him a whole lot, and Chef, who I've known from Brood War. So just a lot of cool people, and some of my friends that live around Texas drove up to the event, and I got to meet them for the first time. So it's just meeting all the cool people, either play with or even behind the scenes, like the managers and stuff. That's like really neat.
Yeah, definitely. I went to MLG Columbus, and that was probably the coolest experience. Just like seeing some of the people you see online, like in person, is it's almost kind of a weird thing in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Um, so for upcoming tournaments and stuff, if there is something in the future here, how are you training? Like, what do you do for your training regimen?
Sure. Well, for the past, to be honest, since I left the Complexity House, I've played maybe a grand total of like 20 ladder games. So I've been playing like a ton of League of Legends,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, I'm one of those guys. But no, I'm starting to get back into the swing of things for SC2 because I'm enjoying Heart of the Swarm a lot more than I ever did Wings for Liberty.
Okay.
So for right now, um, I just I play a ton on ladder just because I know what I need to do to get better. But if there's something, so I'll just queue up on ladder. Unless I get really angry, then I'll take just like a half-hour break because there's no point in trying to play when you're angry or tilted because you'll
Yeah.
just develop bad habits, get worse. But if I do run into anything that's like a head scratcher on ladder, then I might grab someone from Complexity or just someone off my friends list and say, can you do this against me? And let's just try to work through it.
Okay, cool. Um, so you said you're playing some League of Legends right now.
Yeah.
Um, what's the deal with that? Like, are you really interested in it, or is it just kind of like a for fun thing?
Um, well, everything that catches my interest, like I want to try to be good at it.
Hmm.
So, like I will watch pro matches and watch streams and try to figure out why and how come. So yeah, I can't just play it for fun, quote unquote. Like I've got to like have some semblance of skill in it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like Wings of Liberty, it's just like was really getting boring and stale for me, and I really wasn't enjoying it. So even when I was staying at the Complexity House, I started switching more towards League of Legends, and I I'm I'm okay at it. I think I'm at Gold 2 or Gold 3 right now, and I think I could be a lot higher. But the thing is, like, I get four other really bad people on my team,
Yeah.
and that is what that is. But I've got some friends at like Diamond 2, Diamond 3 that I've played with before, and they're like, yeah, you're much better than Gold 3 or whatever. So.
So would you actually consider switching, like, totally focused on League if you got on a really good team or something, or got offered to be on a team?
Oh yeah, definitely. If a team came tomorrow and said, uh, we'd like for you to be on our A team or B team or whatever, uh, I probably would at this point. Um, but I mean, like, as of right now, it's I'm putting more time into Heart of the Swarm. So in another couple months, I'm sure my league skills are gonna be not as good as they were, and I mean, I won't even have to worry about that fantasy coming true.
All right. Um, when so you said sometimes you like if you get frustrated you take a break. Do you do anything special during those time, like to cool down or get back into the flow, um, or do you just basically just take a break?
Uh, well, right now it's like cold and snowy out, so it's like I'll just throw up some music or just surf YouTube for a while, or maybe watch a show online or what have you. But
Mhm.
during the spring and summer, I will like go for a run or something like that. Or when I was down in Texas, I never did it because I didn't want to get lost from the house. But like QXC would go for a run sometimes after he smashed his keyboard.
All right. Yeah, exercise is a great, like, that's what I find it best for in a way, is just like it's so good for relieving stress and stuff.
Yeah, and like even when I'm not losing, like I play amateur baseball. I mentioned that,
Hmm.
and if it's game day, like we'll have our game, let's say at like 7 o'clock at night. Uh, I'll stop playing like 2 hours before I have to leave, just because just playing ladder in and of itself just kind of like just kind of gets your blood pumping a little bit, and like I just want to be like relaxed as possible before I like go after the game, because
Hmm.
otherwise I'm all stressed and tensed up, and usually doesn't work out too good.
Okay. Um, in terms of like money and financing and stuff, what do you think of esports? Like, do you think it could uh, be a kind of like a full time thing for you at some point, or do you think there's not enough money in esports right now?
Well, I'd say I've made way more money than I ever have um, off FC2 than I did from Brood War. So, that's cool.
Hmm.
But I don't think the monetary field is still where it needs to be to support an actual pro scene, but it's definitely getting there. I'd say a lot of people still think they can throw in a bunch of money and think they're going to see a return on investment in like X number of years off esports,
Yeah.
especially with people trying to start their own teams and whatnot. But if you don't have a good business plan, then that's never going to happen. But I've talked to quite a few people who are looking to get into the esports field, but they want to make sure they have the right idea and monetary backing first,
Yeah.
which I think's great because I mean you still see teams going under and not affording to pay their players, or I mean
Yeah.
a, a lot of NA pros don't get paid a whole lot, like anywhere from maybe 50 to a couple $100 a month. It's really not enough to live on, uh,
Yeah.
unless if you're just out of high school or something, it's not too bad. But if you have like $18,000 in student loans like
Yeah.
me, it's like, well, I've got to have a real job too. So,
Yeah. Okay, so where do you work right now to help support this endeavor?
well, right, Endeavor, yeah. Right now I work as an athletic trainer. So I'm the guy that you see running onto the field if someone gets hurt. So
Oh, okay.
that's kind of what I do.
Cool. Where do you do that for? Just one of the
I,
places
I
in Minneapolis, or?
oh yeah, I work through a hospital. It's called Fairview. They own a bunch of hospitals, but so I work through them, and I sign up for events like high school or like tournaments or whatever. Just anything that needs a athletic trainer to cover their event, I can sign up for. So,
Okay, cool. And so I'm assuming you're done with college then? And done with
yeah.
schooling? Okay. All right. Um, Last, like player question. What advice would you give new players who are looking to compete or looking to, be the next big pro gamer or something? Do you have any like sage advice you'd give them?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. First off, it's a long road. It's a long road ahead of you. Don't expect to be famous overnight. Don't expect to beat like one good player and think the fans are gonna flock to you. Like you're gonna have to show
Hmm.
consistent results. Um, you have to work hard and not piss off the right people, or piss off the wrong people because um, esports is interconnected, and if they hear like this player is not worth picking up, uh, that'll get by pretty quickly, and you won't find yourself on any team.
Okay. What about someone attending their first LAN tournament? Is there any like major piece of advice you'd give them?
Yeah, try to get there as early as possible, um, just so you can let it sink in, so you have time to prepare. You know where everything's at, you know where the bathroom's at, et cetera, et cetera. Um, don't let it overwhelm you, but also just don't be afraid to take a moment and just look around you and just appreciate where you're at. Because like 3, 4 years ago, like what you're doing, like that's didn't happen that way.
Hmm.
Like in Brood War, there was like one tournament for foreigners, WCG, and that was it. So
Okay, cool. Okay, so the next questions are kind of like just some random, more fun questions or community questions and things like that. The first one is, besides competing and stuff, are you involved in anything else in esports, or is it pretty much just focused on playing the games?
well, I do coaching, of course for a price, but I help, just kind of like give back, help the bronze, silver, golds, even diamond players, just get to the next level that they want to get at, whether that's being good enough to play in a tournament or being good enough to beat their friend. I try to help in that way, and I write blogs occasionally on Complexity's website that deals with various esports related things.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, just try to give back any way I can.
Okay. Have you been on any like podcasts or any? Are you on any of the other major sites that you're really active or anything?
Uh, I'll post a bit on like Team Liquid and Reddit. Um, but otherwise, not really. And as for podcasts, uh, unless it's complexity related, usually not. So no.
Okay. Yeah, basically, I'm just wondering, like, if people want to find more of you online, where could they look? So,
Yeah, well, you can always search for Ero-Sennin or like Sennin StarCraft, and there's games of me from Brood War and SC2 casted. I think there's like games versus me of like Idra and a bunch of other people on YouTube. So
okay, cool. Next question: What do you, or do you have any like advice or things that you'd like for the community? Like, basically, what do you think the community should do to grow, or is there anything about the esports or StarCraft community that you really like or really don't like? Anything of that nature?
uh, well, I kind of try to stay away from it a little bit. Um, but I think people in general just have to just get used to that, there's always going to be a faction of people that like to poo-poo on everybody. Like
Mm-hmm.
you see In Control on Reddit, and there's a bunch of people that love them, there's a bunch of people that hate them, and blah blah blah. And but you're just gonna have to kind of get used to that. I mean, it was never like that like 4 or 5 years ago, but that's because the scene's much bigger now, and there's a lot more diversified people in it. Um, and other sports had to go through that as well. I mean, for example, there's a lot of people that want to know how much pro players are making, and a lot of teams like to hide those numbers. But Major League Baseball used to do that as well, because other teams didn't want other teams to know how much they're paying, because then their star player could say, well, Joe Smith over on this other team is getting paid twice as much as I am, but I had better stats than him, so I should
Mm-hmm.
be making more. So, we're still in that infancy stage.
Okay. Do you think the community needs like anything in particular to like maybe help it grow, or anything it needs more of? Podcast tournaments, more players, just more money, or
Uh, I think Blizzard needs to play a more important role, kind of like what Riot's doing, um, to like really kick in and kind of tap into the NA scene. I think a NA only tournament would be a great start, and then just try to cut back on the number of tournaments that there are, because as I said last year, there was oversaturation, especially in November when there was like a major tournament like every week, and it got to the
mm-hmm.
point like I was it IPL 5 or 6, I forget which one, but they really hammered it home, and like it was a great tournament, but there was so many other great tournaments that you just kind of like forget about after a while because there's just so many of them. So
Yeah,
if people could just kind of like less tournaments, get Blizzard involved more, get the maybe a couple of NA only tournaments going, I think that really help to grow the scene a lot.
okay. Um, this is kind of just a fun question. Probably don't have to answer it if you don't want to. But do you have any like favorite players, team? Well, maybe not teams. Probably shouldn't do that one. But any like favorite players, like players you absolutely love, or casters, tournaments, or anything like that that you think are just awesome.
Yeah, sure. Well, my favorite player in Brood War was Noni, and I still love Noni.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan of him. So, whether like I'm always gonna be a Noni fanboy. I'm also a huge fan of SKT T1's Rain. I
Okay.
love the way he plays Protoss. So whenever I get a chance to watch him, I do. And of course, favorite team's got to be Complexity, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the way that's gonna
That's what I
go.
figured. Yeah.
But for casters, I don't really have like a set favorite. I know like some of my friends are always like, "Oh my God, Artosis, like I gotta watch it." But I like In Control. I think he's pretty funny. So yeah, if there is any caster, I'd say it'd probably be in control.
Okay. What about? Well, you said you play League of Legends. What do you think about Dota 2? Since they're kind of competitors. Have you tried Dota 2 or?
I've never played it. A few of the guys at the Complexity House would, after we're done practicing and whatnot, and it's later at night, they'd hop on and play a little Dota 2. Uh, it just, I, it looks like it could be fun, but I'm just not interested in giving it a try. Just kind of stick with like League of Legends. So,
Okay. Yeah, I tried Dota 2 for a bit, and I don't know, it's hard to get into.
yeah,
League was just like a lot, so much easier to just like get going and have fun with.
yeah.
Um, besides StarCraft 2 and League of Legends, are there any other games you're playing right now that are, you're just really into, or do those pretty much take up all your time?
No, those take up all my time. I haven't even touched my Xbox 360 in like 5 or 6 years. I don't even know if it'd work anymore. Um, but yeah, I love StarCraft as a whole. Like I know I said I got like sick of Wings or Liberty, but like I'm always
Mhm.
gonna love StarCraft, and I really enjoy League of Legends too. So those are the only things that I put any time in.
Okay. Um, I just thought of another question to ask. That's how much time do you say on average you're putting into like practicing and competing and stuff, and then how much time are you spending outside of gaming, like just like a normal life, kind of, I guess.
Sure. Um, right now, I'd say anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours, but split between SC2 and League of Legends right now. Um, I've been working a lot more and just not getting sick, but just not getting sick of playing the games, but just not having as much time as I used to. And so like my skills aren't as good as they used to be, so I can't just like hop on and like crush everyone on ladder like I used to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like you have that you just play and you're like I could have won there, but I didn't because I'm bad now. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I guess I'm gonna not play this game.
Okay.
But back when I was staying in the Complexity House, it was probably anywhere from 6 to 10 hours a day playing.
Oh wow, so a lot more then.
Oh
That
yeah.
like the peak for you, like that was the hardest training playing that you've ever done, or was there a time when it was even more?
Well, I don't know. There was probably a time in Brood War where I played like 8 to 12 hours every day. So I really love that game. With StarCraft 2, you don't have to practice as much to be good at it because it's an easier game than Brood War. So like I didn't have to put in as much time. And in fact, probably like a good 3 weeks before MLG came up, I had already been playing a lot more League of Legends. So we'd do team practice from like 12 to 3 or 12 to 4, and then after that, I was just playing League of Legends. So I had already kind of like gave up on it a little bit, but I still, you know, I'm still able to take a series off everyone on the team except for I think QXC and Trimaster are the only people I didn't. And then I should have beat QXC at MLG. Pretty much everyone that watched Game 3 was like, "Yeah, you should have won, but you're terrible." Uh, so I would have had that. Everyone else, I've been able to take a series off Ghost User, who's a really good Zerg, um, and just everyone else. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, so with that being said, where do you see yourself in the next like year or so in esports? Are you gonna continue ramping up training? Do you see yourself competing at the next upcoming MLGs, IPLs, or whatever, or are you going to be focusing more on real life or life outside gaming, that kind of a thing?
Real life.
The
Yeah.
non-digital life.
Right, yeah. Um, Summer's usually a bit busier for me, quote real life wise.
Mhm.
Um, because of baseball and a bunch of and I've got work now. Um, I'm just gonna play it by ear. I mean, right now my skills aren't what they used to be, so I'm just playing to unrust. Like if I was really good right now and then I'd lose to something, I'd be pissed because I have the skill to beat them. But right now, I know I don't have the skill to beat a lot of people that I'm losing to,
Hmm.
which isn't much. I'm like 11-0 on ladder right now, so I haven't I haven't lost. But there'll be a point where I'm losing to someone, and that's not going to bother me as much because I know I'm not um, good. So right now I'm just playing it by ear, not really taking it too seriously. Uh, if it gets to the point where I start getting better a lot faster, then I might take a second look at it. But right now I'm just playing for fun. I'm just kind of focusing in real life.
Okay, cool. So that wraps up all the questions. Is there anything you'd like to plug or people to shout out? Anything that you want to share before we close?
Sure. I'd like to thank Complexity and their sponsors. So Sound Blaster, Newegg, Origin PC, PNY, Creative, Twitch, and coL.Acad. And just everyone in general, uh, both big and small, working to grow esports in one way or another. It's great to see. The passion from the fans is phenomenal. A lot of hardworking team managers out there that don't always get a lot of credit. So just shout out to them. Uh, and, and yeah, that's about it.
All right, cool. All right, well, thank you, Sean, for doing this interview. I really appreciate it. Um, and that's it. That's the interview. So thank you very much for watching. I'm Sam Carlson. Be sure to check out the channel for more videos. And yeah, I think that's good. So thanks, Sean. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks.